Okay. We will now bring the regular city council meeting for Tuesday, June 18th to order. If you would all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. First item on our agenda is to approve the amended agenda. You should all have a copy of it. We have an addition to the consent agenda and we have an addition to the new business. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the agenda as laid out.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Next item is the consent agenda. These are items that are considered routine by the council and will be enacted in by a single motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Open forum. This is an opportunity for anyone in the public that wishes to make a comment about anything that's not on the agenda. If you have an item that you wish to comment that is on the agenda tonight, we'll give you an opportunity at that time. So we'll open public comment. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Second item under open forum is our Park and Recreation annual presentation.
All right, good evening. Thank you for having us again this year. Again, this is Parks and Recreation and Community Center. Program summary. So you can see a list of all the programs we offer here. I want to point out that these would not be possible without the help of the community. We have 12 plus organizations every year that we work with to put these on, as well as over 20 volunteers all year round. So the parent coaches, the Nisswa Fire Department, the Nisswa Police Department, they're all very, very helpful in putting on a lot of these programs. It was an exceptionally tough year for our winter programming. The Warming House opened January 10th and closed January 25th for a whopping 13 days. In those 13 days, though, we did have 369 users. So it packed a punch for what we had it for. But yes, I do want to thank the community and the organizations, the volunteers, because it would not be possible to run these programs without their assistance. These are our programs in action. So you have Safety Town on the bottom, Nature Camp are the first two on the top. And then we have our Thurlow T-Ball, which is a beloved program in the community for our introductory to T-Ball. And it is a very fun, precious time. So community center summary. You can see the trends year over year. Maggie does a fantastic job managing the calendar for the community center and tracking all these numbers for Parks and Rec. The classes, Park and Rec programs, and nonprofits continue to be the main usage of that facility. Few weddings, birthday parties, grad parties, things like that also utilize the facility. If I could sum up the last 12 months in one word, it would be trails. Nisswa has put in over 4 miles of trails in the last 12 months, 3 of which are paved trails for the Gull Lake Trail, as well as another little over a mile of crushed concrete trail up between the lakes park. So we have put a lot of effort into that. From engineering with WIDSEF, Public Works, planning and zoning. It's been a team effort to get all of these things accomplished and really great asset for our community. Our master plan said that trails are one of the most used amenities we have, so really happy that we can continue to add to this. Our last section of the Gull Lake Trail, we are planning to construct next summer. So that would be the section on 77 from Lower Roy Lake Road to the county line. So that funding has been secured. We're trying to wrap up the current section and then we'll get going on the next one. Looking ahead to 2025, we have some big things on maintenance we're going to be taking a hard look at. These are a few pictures of the issues we've been monitoring. I've mentioned in my monthly report some of the water issues in the community center and the Zamboni garage. Those are after heavy rains, so half of the parking lot is underwater right now. We have a roof on the Zamboni garage that we are looking at. We've replaced some shingles already. Concrete in the hockey rink, we've talked about that for several years now. The issues we're having. And then the one on the far left is the switchback at Pocket Park. So rocks behind the rocks are washing out. And so we generally clean that up, but we are monitoring the stability of that structure. So we will be taking a hard look at these and what to do or not to do in terms of maintenance, especially as we consider how park planning is going to progress. So right now with the master plan, we are currently in a fundraising stage. Our June Parks Commission meeting identified phase 1 as the playground and pickleball tennis courts. That phase is estimated at about just shy of 1.2 million, with phase 2 being the hockey rink and warming house, garages, things like that. That phase is estimated at about 8.5 million. With this, the playground and hockey rink are nearing their end of useful life. And so that is dictating the timeline on some of these things, depending on how fundraising goes. We might be needing to make some tough decisions. So we're working on it. You gonna have some stuff later on tonight regarding city park plans. So stay tuned for that one. But happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Anyone?
All right, thank you much.
Could you stay there though?
No,
for a
just a second.
Yeah.
I have one thing. Hate to be the person to say this. City of Nisswa gives a certificate of recognition. The certificate is presented to Amber Moon Peterson in recognition of her nomination for the League of Minnesota Cities 2024 Emergency Leader Award.
Emerging
Leader Award, excuse me. For your demonstrated leadership, problem solving, and communication skills as the City of Nisswa Parks and Recreation Director. I am very proud of you.
Well, thank you.
Do what Nancy tells you to do, Mark. Thank you, Amber. Next item is reports, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor Ryan. Good evening, City Council. My report is in your packet tonight. Just a couple of items reflected in my report we will be discussing under new business. I wanted to mention, I did put information regarding the 2024 election filing dates because that is coming up here on the next couple of months. And also, because of the weather today and some of the water that we're seeing in the building, just a reminder, I did submit to Sourcewell for the grant to hopefully address some of the issues with our roof and in the building. We should find out at the end of June if we are awarded that. It's a lottery system. So as long as we met the criteria, we're into the mix, and then it's just a lottery system. So I should have an update for you in July if we were awarded those funds. Either way, probably more conversation will be had about that, the need to address some of the building issues, but hopefully maybe we have a little extra funding to help offset that. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just in the meantime, on the building, can we have Tom start to get quotes on this? Because that's gonna take quite a while to get different quotes. So can we at least start that process while we're still waiting on the funding? Doesn't cost anything to start working on the quotes.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that and work on a game plan for what we need to get done.
Okay.
Okay, city attorney.
Good evening, everybody. I don't have anything to report here tonight.
Okay. City engineer.
Good evening, everybody. I guess, just to give a little summary of what I've been doing, I've been working with Tom on the lift station 1. Been working on, 2025, 2026 roads. Also working on, completing the Gull Lake Trail punch list items, trying to get that all finished up before June 30th of this month. Yeah, that's pretty much it right now. Thank you.
Okay. That moves us on to new business. First item under new business is our THC moratorium. Jeannie, do you want to key this up?
Thank you. I think I'm going to pass it over to our city attorney to discuss.
So you have in your packet, a memo from Jenny, which kind of summarizes the conversation that took place about this when this matter came up. Excuse me, both between, excuse me, city staff and Andy, and then, Jenny asked for my opinion, about this, and Jenny and I thought it made the most sense to get this on the agenda and get your consideration on this issue, especially in light of the moratorium related issue that came up at last month's council meeting. So I don't know if there's anything else to say about it. You see my comments and my reasoning for what I think the city's position is on this, and I'll leave it open at this point to any questions you might have.
Okay.
We're looking for some direction from the council about how to approach this issue.
Joe, you want to kick it off?
Sure, I guess, I had read this earlier a week or so ago, sent you out an email, Jenny. I myself am looking for more information. What does the state say? What are other cities doing? Maybe even potentially a rough draft of what we might do. And so for myself, this was brought up last month, we voted it down, but yeah, Schaefer's was doing it before the moratorium went into place, but obviously it's not an issue that's going away. And I guess what I would like to do is just, ask, for some time to figure this out, what can we do? What are our options? What should we do? What does the state say? Just much like our alcohol that we currently have in place, we have rules on distances from schools, churches, stuff like that. And I guess I would like to see some of that information before I made a decision on anything. That's what, I guess, where I'm kind of at with it. I'm looking for more info.
I agree
Mayor-
with that.
Mayor
Think we
Ryan,
need
if
more time.
Mayor Ryan, if I could
Yep.
provide some feedback. So yes, last month when we discussed, certainly discussed the fact that the moratorium will have to be lifted by January 1st, of the new year coming up. And so based on council direction last month, the moratorium Your direction was to keep the moratorium in place and to work to draft ordinances that would then put the city in the right position to have those things in place prior to January 1. So yes, we do have draft THC ordinances already circulating. I've already asked for feedback from department heads, still working on getting feedback and pulling that together. But based on the timeline, as directed last month, that was going to be presented to council in the fall to then have ready for implementation in January. With respect to the cannabis specific ordinances, those draft ordinances are still being worked on at a broader level. And so when we have some drafts to look at and to see how that works for Nisswa, we will bring those to you as well. I anticipate that will also be on the next handful of months. But I think the question before the council is tonight is that we have a moratorium that has been in place for a couple of years now. So at this point, there is no activity relating to THC that is allowed in Nisswa. So does the council want to uphold that and continue that? Or are we changing that in light of the situation?
In my opinion, we can't change horses midstream. I mean, when Roundhouse Brewery came forth, it was very adamant that Joe, Bruce, and myself said no, because we have a moratorium in place. It's an ordinance. Doesn't matter when the ordinance came in or what it was. If you have an ordinance and we say this is okay for Schaefer's to do because they supposedly sold beforehand, but now we have the ordinance in place, what would stop anybody else from saying, well, we can do it now too? We put the ordinance in because we wanted to wait until January 1, 2025 when the state figured everything out. I think we should stay with that as we did last month. I would say we would ask the Schaefers to cease and desist the sale of THC products in gummies, even though the amount is legal under the state. We do have that ordinance in place right now. So, I mean, what ordinances do we uphold? What ordinances we don't? It would be my opinion that if we have an ordinance in there, we should uphold that ordinance.
Yeah, and one of the things, that I had to ask for is, the state documentation on this. What is the state saying? When this goes away, do we have that information available to what the state's rules and regulations are with this?
We do, and that will be provided to the councils. I said the departments are working on reviewing all of that. We have samples in place that we can draw from to make that work for Nisswa specifically. So we are working on that. The timeline is, as I outlined, that we would present that this fall unless the council provides other direction.
Yeah, but maybe misunderstanding. Isn't there already a state ordinances in place that we can just print and copy?
Well, the state has its own regulations. Okay, I can.
That's what I'm asking for, regulations, whatever.
Sure.
What does the state say? Is that not in place? Is that not how this
For
works?
THC it is. They have a process. It may not be fully baked yet.
Not fully.
But there are some things because if you did nothing as a city, then THC is allowed to be sold.
Thus the moratorium.
Correct.
Yep.
So certainly there are some things we can provide. I think I was understanding the question specific to a Nisswa
Well, you're
ordinance.
shaking your head no. Does the state not have this all figured out or? can
Oh,
you
the
shake-
state, I think the state's still working on it, and the cities are taking directions from what the state is doing piecemeal so that the cities can begin to develop their ordinances in concert with the state, giving some definition to a subject that they just passed legislation but gave no definition, which is what caused all this to start with.
And even the author of the
Well,
bill
okay, so
said
then
that too.
That helps clear it up because then I'm just,
Yep.
why don't we just look at what the state does? But same thing. And so that was kind of my thing last time. We need to get our ducks in a row, just like we do with every other rule before we kick it out.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I guess that's what I'm saying. However, we gather this information from whatever the state's putting together, other towns, I don't know that we need to wait till fall. It sounds like maybe it's something that we should follow more closely as it's becoming real time with the state. So we're up to speed rather than, I guess I'm not sure how much time it's going to take to look at this or how you know, is the state gonna keep changing it too between now and fall or now and the end of the year? Does
They-
anybody have a
They've
sense on
been
that?
changing it since the beginning. Even the author of the bill said that it wasn't well thought out and that they had a lot of things that they had to change. Even one of the directors that they hired to oversee everything was let go. I think it's in process, but they assure us that everything will be in place by the end of the year. But I think right now what we're looking at is are we going to say, yes, that Schaefer's can keep selling the THC product when we told Groundhouse Brewery they could not? Or we're gonna say, no, they can't. They have to wait until the 1st of January when it will be, when our moratorium is lifted and it will be legal to sell, grow, smoke, ETC, kind of like Groundhouse Brewery is going to have to wait until after the 1st of the year before they can infuse their beer with THC. So I think that's where we're at right now. Are we going to say, yes, you can keep going, or no, you have to take it off the shelves?
I think what the moratorium is in place. That's the state, that's the city's position on it. It was plain. It's been in place. That was the city place. What the question here, that I see Andy raising, Schaefer's raising, is that they were selling it before the moratorium. Our legal counsel has looked through it, and because of the moratorium, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Tom, but the way I'm reading this that you supplied us with is the moratorium supersedes that.
Well, there's a little bit of nuance to this. It's a little bit different than the Roundhouse situation that came before you because they haven't been previously doing anything and the moratorium has been in existence. Andy says he was doing this before the moratorium came into place 2 years ago. But a couple of points to that, which are, you know, what I wrote in this email, but, you know, probably first and foremost, this isn't even a use that's allowed in the city right now. Okay, so your land use chart is eventually, as part of everything that the city is going to do, is going to have a category that says THC related uses, and then what zone it's allowed in, and whether that's with a CUP and that kind of thing. So right now, it's not even a use that's allowed in the city. With respect to the moratorium, and if this activity is being conducted before the moratorium, I think the word new uses is being sort of misapplied here. New uses is generally the new uses that the state legislature put into play, but gave no definition to, which has left cities like us scrambling to find out how to regulate this and how to define it. And so new uses shouldn't be construed as Andy was doing it before the moratorium, so it's not a new use. Okay, that's the first thing. And so those two things in conjunction with each other. And then remember, our zoning ordinance says, like most others ordinances say, every activity that's conducted is a new thing each day. And so even if it were true that there was some sort of grandfathering of this use because it started before the moratorium, it's still an ongoing everyday thing. And the things that are happening now and have been since August of 2022 are certainly subject to the moratorium. So yeah, it is my opinion, and I think the opinion of city staff, that the moratorium does apply to this activity. But again, rather than start down a conversation about how to enforce that, it made sense, we thought, to have Andy here if he wants to speak to it, and have you weigh forth on this issue again, given the conversation that took place last month.
So then, to me, it seems, we either enforce the moratorium as we have it in writing, based on our advice from the, looking at this and what Tom just explained. And then we stick to the schedule that the council said they wanted the staff to stick to, or we stick to the moratorium and we speed up the process of getting this moratorium perhaps lifted prior to January 1. But we are going to need land use rules where it's, as Tom alluded to, and we are going to need an ordinance that's drafted up that allows businesses to know where it is and where it isn't allowed to be done, et cetera. The city's going to have to do that, but it's going to have to be done at a quicker pace than a different pace than what the council previously wanted to do. So So that's where, so the state of Minnesota has, it's very obvious, if, you know, I don't know if everyone's been following this as closely as some, but again, it was, to Mark's point, it was passed and they had no clue what they were doing. They just passed it and then everything was in the air. And so one group of people are being told this is okay, and honestly, nobody knows what it is, including them. This is something that's been an ongoing conversation with our elected officials down in the Minneapolis or down in St. Paul, between myself and them anyway, because it's clear as mud to everybody down there. So I guess that's what I would throw out to the council is, do we want to stick with our original decision to continue the moratorium through the end of the year? And then at which point it'll expire, but we will have to have our ducks in a row, period. Or do we kick that process up and get it moving faster? And put something in place with the understanding that whatever we put in place might have to be changed based on what the state decides by the end of the year.
Well, that's kind of my question.
So
How long is it going to take us to put that process in place? And does the state give us any indication on when they might have their stuff finalized? Do we know, have they said, hey, October 1, we're gonna know this information?
Based on what I know, likely it won't be much before January 1st.
Yep.
We're gonna just have to do our best with some of this.
open a prayer.
Yes, and then adjust as needed.
Yeah, and in the meantime, our staff and myself really need some direction from the council about how to apply to this certain situation, because you know, our opinion is that the moratorium applies to this activity.
Mhm.
And so what we really need is the council's either agreement with that or disagreement with the proposition of asking Schaefer's to discontinue this activity and abide by the moratorium while we work through this last part of the process.
That's where I stand.
Joe?
Yeah, I guess, I don't, does Andy have any?
Andy, did you want to
say
address us
add?
or please?
Good evening, council. I guess I'd like to start with, I never intended to break any laws or rules. I truly read it the way that I had in that email. So it wasn't my intent to get in trouble over this whole deal. So,
No, I don't think anyone thinks that of you, Andy. At all, no.
I don't see the chief of police here. So.
It might be waiting by my truck.
In fairness, Andy, you had a credible, take on what you thought
Yep.
was the right thing on this. So nobody's holding your feet to the fire. It's just that we need to be, at least in my opinion, we need to be uniform in how we're applying this ordinance right now to everybody.
I understand.
So, and it won't be for long. I mean, obviously, this activity is going to happen in cities like Nisswa, and it won't be long before that's happening. We just need a little bit more time to put the right regulations in place.
Yep. I guess, my only ask, understanding that you guys probably want me to cease and desist, but I would like to have a couple weeks to try to sell through what I have. The inventory on hand, which would be kind
How
of.
much inventory do you have
Well,
on hand right now?
I don't know exactly the amount, but I have thousands of dollars. I don't know. We got cases of everything that's on display on the seltzer side, which is the drinks, and just, this is all pre-made stuff. I'm not selling any smokable, any oils, any of that stuff. It's all 5 milligram per serving, no more than 50 milligrams per package within the state standards. So it's nothing smokable.
I would ask Tom for this, but I'm gonna take a guess that do we have an option to do something like that? We either enforce your moratorium or you don't, or can you set a cease and desist by a certain date type thing?
Sure, yes, you could do that. I mean, you had an applicant in here last month who said to you, hey, we want to manufacture this stuff for distribution elsewhere outside the city. So Again, these are not similar fact patterns, but you have available to do whatever you want. The only thing I would say is that if you set a cease and desist deadline for a time period, then that's enforceable. If it's a cease and desist that only goes into effect once all current inventory in stock is exhausted, that's not enforceable because we don't have an audit of what is and what isn't. So that's the difficulty in trying to delay the compliance.
So what if we did something and say, just for example, I'm just gonna throw it out there because I don't know how the business end of it is working on your SI. Say we did a cease and desist by July 16th, which is the next council meeting, at which time we would have an update for our staff. That would allow for product to be hopefully gone.
Yeah,
so we're not
I
you know
hope
what
so. I
I
mean,
I
I-
don't know what the shelf life on this stuff is.
Exactly. That was the thing that a lot of them expire in February 9th is a lot of the packaging right now that I have. So it would give me only 1 month to sell it before it expires after the moratorium's up. And it's obviously a slow month. So
Oh.
that's why I was asking to,
So
and
I
if you
guess,
want me to copy invoices or send someone to take pictures of what we have, that's perfectly fine with me. I'm not, like I said, I'm
yeah,
not
no,
trying to do anything.
I'm just trying to figure out a way that you don't get harmed. I don't want to harm you per se, but we have to enforce the moratorium too.
I get it.
And then the other thing that I really think I would, there's another thing that I would bring up, so let's discuss that first. What does everyone think? Does that work for everybody? Is that something that, are we, is that an avenue we want to go down or should go down, Tom? Are we okay with that legally? I mean, are we sticking our necks out or?
You have the discretion to enforce ordinances as you see fit. There's all kinds of circumstances in the community where ordinances aren't being complied with strictly, and there's grace given to that. So you've got the discretion to do what you want. Your staff just needs orders about how to react.
Well, you said you'd need like 2 weeks.
I honestly don't know. I said I'd
Right.
like some time.
Could be 2 weeks, could be 4, yeah, I hear what you mean.
Well,
Okay,
if,
so-
if I had 2 weeks, it'd be better than nothing. Obviously with the holiday, I would hope I could sell out most of it, and there's more than I could drink on my own, so.
Put it on clearance, or are you gonna get rid of
Well,
it?
I give it the old college try, and I guess I got till February before it's outdated, and then I might get a little weird.
The only reason I picked July 16th is because it's our next council meeting. And then that would be an update to the
Right.
council at the next council meeting without pulling a special meeting. So I'm just,
Well, you could also say the 15th, so then we'd know on the 16th if
Well,
everything is off. I
right,
mean,
but-
next. But yes, we should just pick a date and say,
well, is everyone okay with something like that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll make a motion that we ask Schaefer's to cease and desist, the sale of THC products by July 16th or 15th. Okay, we'll call it Monday. July 15th of 2024, and abide from that point forward with the moratorium until it is, ceases to be in effect.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, carried. I also think that then do we as a council want to continue to give staff and the city attorney the time necessary to put this together I don't have a problem with asking staff to put something together sooner and maybe even have it passed by September 1st, okay? But
Don't want it rushed.
without knowing what the state's doing, because they're so Johnny on the spot, do we then have to recreate the wheel again by December because they've changed things and our ordinance is no longer applicable or it doesn't work?
My opinion, you really should give this the timeline that's already in effect. And you shouldn't ask city staff to expedite it.
Okay.
Just stay with that because of what this state's doing.
Yep.
Okay. And Andy, speaking for myself, I never thought once that you were trying to It just, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah, I was
No,
kind of
right.
blindsided by the email. I assumed that I was doing things right, so
Mhm.
sorry for misreading.
No,
No, we understand.
not a problem.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is a recommendation from Parks Commission, reference obtaining quotes for city park plan items. Amber.
Yes, thank you. At the June sixth Park Commission meeting, the Parks Commission, hammered out some fundraising goals. The goal is 600,000 by February 1st of 2025. For the phase 1 that I mentioned of the playground and pickleball tennis courts. Again, that estimated cost is about just shy of 1.2 million. And we're hoping that the funds raised would go towards matching dollars for the DNR Outdoor Rec Grant. That's an annual grant that requires a 50% match. And the grant award is up to $350,000. What brings me to you guys here tonight is that grant requires site plans to be completed. So it's looking at cost breakdown, site evaluation maps, timelines, and that kind of planning effort. So what I would like to discuss with you guys tonight is if we would be able to start moving forward with that and engage with Seth in creating a proposal to get those plans done in order to be ready to apply for the outdoor rec grant.
Needs to be done.
Right, and it'd be an excellent opportunity for Woodseth to show their donation towards kicking it off with a free set of plans. Wow. That would be a great thing.
Can the 350?
Good idea.
Good
That's above your pay
Can
grade.
the 350?
Yeah, but it's just,
Can the match?
somebody
be-
needs to be first.
Can the match be or services in kind? have to be-
They're weighted a little bit differently when you have secured the funds.
I was just trying to bounce off what Joe said. If it's services in kind, there's even more other reason for it.
You could write us a check instead of us writing you a check.
No pressure. No pressure. It's got to get done. I know we've discussed this multiple times on a council level. One of the things that was done for your benefit, Bruce, because I know you weren't here last time, I think we discussed it, was that when we start doing the planning, it's probably going to be conducive for the city to use the same engineering firm for all of it, phase by phase, so that you're not reinventing wheels or things like that. So just, but I have no problem, getting it started.
Yeah, I guess my only thing
Getting a
though is,
proposal.
to WSN, kind of, like on the road or on the roads or whatever, the proposal as a percentage, for the plans has to be in line with the project, on this. And so, yeah, otherwise, I'll be the first to say then I want multiple proposals from multiple companies. Just because we're talking about a $10 million project, I can speak for myself, putting in pickleball courts or whatever. I'm constructing them with my company, with Anderson Brothers all the time, and we don't have a terrible lot of engineering going into pickleball courts. Anderson Brothers does a nice job with them out there without extensive engineering. So I just throw that right out on the front end.
Yeah, and I think right now what specifically we want to gear this towards is getting the documents together that are required for the grant.
Correct.
And kind of assessing the area as a whole to make sure that all of the elements have their respected space and utilities and things like that. So some basic mapping, planning, but once we get closer to our fundraising goal, then we can dive into some of those specifics. The playground design would need to be completed in order to apply for the grant.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we grant approval to obtain a proposal for the city park plans as presented by staff from Woodset.
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Next item is, accept the resignation of Bethany Soderland and authorize to fill a vacant position.
Nay.
I will make you want that in two motions or?
No,
Okay.
we can do it all together.
Well, I will make a motion to accept with regret the resignation of, city planner Bethany Soderland and to wish her the very best and to hope that, her career path continues to soar. If the past is any proof, she is going places. So thank you for your service, Bethany, and hope everything works great. And I will also authorize to fill the vacant position. That's my motion. Or advertise for the filling of the vacant position.
Yes, a recommendation will be brought to the council once a person is
Correct.
recommended.
Yep.
I'll second. Reluctantly.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item number 4, approve Sourcewell shared services. I don't know that I want to do that.
Well, we get to keep Bethany a little bit longer, through this arrangement. So I have discussed with Sourcewell, a shared services agreement. They will bring 2 individuals here on site Mondays and Thursdays between 1 and 4:30 p.m. So there'll be 2 people to help and, return phone calls, answer emails, keep things moving forward, issuing permits, all of that while we complete the recruitment. And there is no set end date. They are also open to working with us in the future if something were to come up and we needed to fill a specific need. Certainly we could engage them with that, but I would recommend approving this so that we have resources to help continue for planning and zoning in the interim.
I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we move ahead with the Sourcewell agreement for the shared services for P and Z.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Quick, I did ask Jenny about this too, about as we move forward, depending on how soon or whatever about the downtown plan, the downtown stuff, that maybe Bethany would be able to help whoever we have. Would Sourcewell be okay?
I'm sure she would
Okay.
be available for a phone call or a
Okay.
question if
All right.
needed. Yes.
Okay, next item is approved memorandum of agreement with the Teamsters. I'll make a motion that we do approve the memorandum of agreement as presented.
I'll second.
All those in favor, any further discussion? Anyone have a question about it? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried. Item 6, resolution governing elections versus write-in vote counting.
So with new legislation, the council has the option to determine how the city would like to account for write-in votes during election time. So you can either have the write-in votes counted individually if a written request has been made no later than the 7th day before a municipal election. So a write-in candidate would have to notify the chief election official that they want their write-in votes counted prior to the election, or you can select that votes for write-in candidates will only be individually recorded if the total number of write-in votes for an office is equal to or greater than the fewest number of non-write-in votes for a ballot. So for example, for mayor, if there were 300 votes for mayor, there would have to be at least that number in write-in vote totals to then trigger the review of the write-in votes.
Well, that's the way I'd like to go. Votes for write-in candidates will only be individually recorded if the total number of write-in votes equal to or greater than the fewest number of non-write-in votes for ballot. That would be my option.
Was there any feedback from the county on how other areas are doing it? Or, I mean,
We
I
asked for
kind
their
of,
recommendation. They didn't give any, I think either, either one is reasonable, but yes, that's probably a
I'm
good
just kind of
option.
looking at number one because it's like, otherwise you're gonna count all the write-in votes anyway.
No, we're not. I would recommend the second one if
Yeah.
you
Oh,
would like
okay.
it,
Yeah.
because
All right.
someone could still just say, I think I'm a write-in candidate, and so then therefore we have to count all of their votes
Okay.
as
that's-
opposed to, it has to meet a certain
that was-
threshold.
My next question was how would staff, how would the people that do this for us, how would they like to do it? So
Number two.
you're the ones doing it. So if that's what you would prefer.
Yeah.
Okay.
You want that motion?
Yep.
All right, let's see. How do we want to do this? I'll make a motion for a resolution governing elections write-in vote counting, that votes for write-in candidates will only be individually recorded if the total number of write-in votes for an office is equal to or greater than the fewest number of non-write-in votes for a ballot.
Okay. I get a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. Next item is, request increase for the 2024 wage rate for election judges.
I'll make a motion to accept the request to increase 2024 wage rates for election judges as presented.
I'll second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. Next item is amend city policy reference holiday pay for part-time seasonal employees. Unless anyone has, well, I can ask for questions, but I'll make the motion. This is a good idea. They're working the holiday. So, I would make the motion that we, amend the city policy reference to holiday pay and part-time and seasonal employees as presented.
I'll second.
Can I clarify that's effective immediately?
Yes, excuse, I'll amend my, that would be, go into effect immediately.
Great.
I'll second.
Any questions from anybody? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, carried. Public Works requests approval of the 2025-2026 road bond road list. Did everybody have a chance to look at it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Or Tom, did
We
you
wanna
want to
hear from
address
Tom?
us first? Okay.
I'll make a motion to accept Public Works request to approve the 2025-2026 road bond road list as presented.
Second.
Mayor Ryan, I would like to just clarify that we will bring back estimated costs and that piece of it, just wanting to kind of set the framework for here are the roads we will be working through with the road bond. That doesn't mean that everything is finalized,
Correct.
but we wanted to provide this to you, and certainly Tom can answer any questions you might have for him.
On the community center parking lot part, Tom, it's a path from PBT to City Park.
Paul Bunyan Trail.
Oh, okay. All right.
What we were hoping to do there is, some of Amber's park plan, trying to, if we're working in there,
Get it done.
get it done with this.
Sure. Okay. Great. Okay.
Do you need a revision on the motion?
No.
Do we have a second?
Did we get a second?
I did.
Tom?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Parks request to replace the community center furnace and AC system. I thought we did that.
Did.
There's 4.
Yeah.
real quick, can I jump in and say something?
Yeah.
Sure.
Tom, my phone's buzzing and people in the neighborhood down there on Lower Roy Lake Road, they got a tree all the way across the road blocking the road. So, just, sorry, but people are trying to figure out how to get a hold of somebody up here. So,
Do you need help, Tom?
yeah, sounds like it's down by Stumble Lane. All right, sorry, go ahead.
Parks and, oh, go ahead, Amber.
Yes, so there are actually 4 units, 4 different systems in the community center. We did unit 1, fall of 22. And so this one is unit 2. This one's estimated at 29 years old, and that's why we are recommending to go ahead with a full replacement, option 2. And recommending that it comes out of the community center capital reserve.
I'll make a motion to approve the parks request to replace the community center furnace and AC system option 2.
Second,
For a total cost of 12,900.
Yes.
Okay, that's who you used before too, right? Climate
Yes,
Control?
they're the ones who do our preventative maintenance.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Chamber of Commerce, update reference Freedom Day Parade events. Did everyone get that and read it?
We're losing our chamber president. As good? No.
Did anyone have any questions?
You've
for
kept our
Pam
feet
or
to the
for
fire.
Jenny, or otherwise, make a motion that we, approve the Freedom Days event summary as presented.
second,
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay. Planning Commission recommendation reference downtown master plan proposal. Bethany.
Good evening, Mayor Ryan. Good evening, Council. In response to our RFP, the city of Nisswa received those 4 downtown master plan proposals. And at the last city council meeting, you directed staff to select which firms most closely aligned with our goals, to further refine the scope of services and to work within a $120,000 budget. Included in your packet tonight are 3 of the 4 submitted proposals from Bolton and Mink, HKGI, and Widseth. The New Northern's proposal was not selected as staff determined that it did not support the needs of the city. At the June 4th, 2024 regular meeting, the Planning Commission recommended the approval of the revised proposed submittal by Widseth with the condition that the re-envisioning of Pocket Park be added back into the plan. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
Any questions?
Go. Okay. All right.
I'll make a motion to accept the planning commission recommendations downtown master plan proposal. The revised proposal submitted by Widseth with the condition that the new re-envisioning of the Pocket Park be added back to the plan.
I'll second that. Any further discussion or questions for Amber? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Carried.
That's Bethany, not Amber. Mary.
Did I say Amber?
Yes, you did.
Oh, that's because Amber isn't leaving.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna pay for that. I know I am.
I would like to just take a moment to say it has been an absolute honor and an absolute privilege to work for the city of Nisswa. And I want to thank staff. I want to thank city council. I want to thank my planning commission. It's really, really been a great 2 years, 2+ years. And the support that you've given me and the department has been wonderful. We've got a lot of great things started. My hope is that it continues. And I just want to say thank you.
You'll be missed.
Yes, you will.
Miss you do.
Thank you.
No one here to give me grief.
Council reports. Mark,
I'm all good.
Bruce,
Good.
Joe?
The only thing I had, I mentioned it to Amber, but Lower Roy Lake Road, now the trail's in, done, open, take down the other signs that say share the road. So. People know about that? My recommendation?
So used to seeing them, I don't even think of them anymore.
Yeah, just to try and promote people to actually use the
Use-
trail and get off the road. They're still on the road for some reason.
Oh,
So
Yeah, those people.
just,
We just gotta keep those golf carts off the trail.
so yeah, so that is the other day, the carts were on the trail, the people were on the road, so.
See that?
I just want to,
That flip.
I just want to go on the record to
Right,
say,
and so just take down those signs, maybe mix messages. That's it.
if you do see a red Toro on the road, on the trail, I am cleaning the drain on a regular basis.
Right.
So-
Right. Sure, I've heard that before.
That was,
I yelled at a guy a few weeks back for being on there. Right.
we should get him together with Roger. Okay, yeah, and I have nothing, so other than I hope everyone's got enough rain for a while, we can call it quits.
Yeah.
Holidays are down below and any, other meetings and that, so if anyone has any questions for anybody, just go ahead and give the, I know that, one thing I was gonna mention on packets too is to, I haven't said it for a while, is if you have questions when you read your packet and stuff, try and get them answered before the meeting. Cause it just makes things go a little quicker. So staff is always willing to answer questions, so. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, I so move.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you.